Jacob and Esau are two of the most interesting characters that we come across in the Torah. They are the sons of Yitzhak and Rivka after many years of childlessness. And they are completely different, even though they are twins. Yaakov is described as an Ish Tam, Yoshev Ohalim, a man of perfect faith, dwelling in tents, according to our sages, in the tents of learning and study. Whereas Esav is Ish Yodea Tzayed. He's a hunter. He loves to be out in the field with bow and arrow. He loves the smell of the meadow and the forest. And ultimately, our sages tell us, he hunts not just animals, but even human beings, and becomes a very wicked person. And looking at this picture, one is often struck in wonder. How is it that these two such different boys should come from the same family? They both had righteous parents. Yitzhak, Isaac, the first Jewish boy born to Jewish parents, Abraham and Sarah, a man of incredible piety, a man who never left Israel because of his holiness, a man who was brought upon the altar for the Akedat Yitzhak, the aborted sacrifice. And then Rivka. Although Rivka was from a family of idolaters, she herself was a most righteous woman, a kind woman, a woman of incredible benevolence. So here you have these two incredible parents. One would expect that they would raise a family that is completely righteous, that both Esav and Yaakov should have been righteous people. And yet that's not the case. How do we understand it? How do we make sense of it? And I think the answer is provided in a very interesting midrash on the parsha. The parsha tells us the boys were little, it describes their birth, and then it says, Vayigdalu anarim. The lads grew up. This one went to the tents, this one went to the field. And the midrash gives the following analogy. It was like two plants growing next to each other. When they're young, when they're saplings, they look almost identical, exactly the same. But as they get older, one turns out to be the sweet-smelling, fragrant hadass, the myrtle, and the other one turns out to be a little thorn bush. But when they were little, when they were saplings, nobody noticed it. It was only when they came of age that it was noticeable. Says the Midrash, when Yaakov and Esav were little boys, they both went to the same school. They both studied Torah. They looked to be the same type of children. But when they came of age, when they became bar mitzvah, this one went off to the tent of study, and this one went off to the field to become a hunter. What is the meaning of this? And the famous Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch of Germany tells us an incredible insight that if he hadn't had said it, I don't think any of us would have had the nerve and the chutzpah to have said it. He says that Yitzhak and Rivka, as righteous as they were, made a terrible mistake as parents. And the mistake that they made is that they gave both of their children the same education. And that cannot be. In Proverbs and Mishlei, we are told, Chanoch lenar al pi darko, educate the youth according to his way. Look at the child. What is the child's personality? What is the child's interest? What does he like to do? Yaakov is a studious child. So naturally, if you put him into school and you tell him to study, he's going to study. He loves studying, he loves reading, he loves learning. Esav is not a studious child. Esav has other abilities. Maybe he's an entrepreneur, maybe he's a businessman, maybe he's good with his hands. And of course, every Jew has to study Torah and do mitzvot, but you have to do it, you have to educate them within their personality. And this is where Yitzhak and Rivka failed. They failed to see that Esav was a very different type of a child. And had they seen that he was a different type of a child, they could have used his strengths in the service of God. And it's the same thing that we see today in this generation. Parents are making that same type of mistake, especially in the religious world. They have a whole lot of children. They think every single son is going to become the next Rosh Yeshiva, and every single daughter is going to become a big Rebbetzin. But it's not so. Maybe they have a child who's just not into studying, but he's got different types of acumen and different types of interest. Don't destroy those interests. Rather, take those interests and use it in the service of God. You see that you've got one son who's studious, send him to yeshiva. You see that you've got another child who's interested in business, promote that and tell them how they can use their business skills to better further the Jewish people. This was the mistake of Yitzhak and Rivka, and it's a mistake that we should never repeat. Because of that, because of the enmity that existed between Esav and Yaakov, the Jewish people were almost destroyed, just because of that one error. So when we educate our children, there's no one-size-fits-all education. Look at the child, educate the child according to their way. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.